Vision boards help us with visualization, and most of us tend to be visual people. If we are using the reticular activating system with things like visual images, it helps us focus on what's important to us.
So today we're going to make the suggestion that instead of making New Year's resolutions this year, that we do
vision boards.
And why? Why would we do vision boards?
Because there's neuroscience that suggests it's the best way to focus your efforts in the new year.
So join us as we explore why doing vision boards this year could be fun and good for us in achieving our dreams and visions for 2025. Welcome to Business Builders. We are your hosts. I am Brenton Gowland.
And I'm Ron Tomlin.
And Ron, it's that time of year.
Yes, it is.
It's the festive season. It's the time of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, I'm not a great fan.
Why are you not a great fan of New Year's resolutions? Surely you have, when you've made a resolution to lose weight, you've stuck with it, right?
No. I think the problem is the word resolution is interpreted by most people as good intentions. And resolution is about doing something as opposed to thinking about doing something.
Wait a minute. You're busting all my aspirations that my New Year's resolution this year is actually going to do something for me.
It probably won't, because it didn't last year, did it?
Well, it was to go to gym and get fit, and I'm heavier now than I was last year. So yeah, I'm working
precisely.
on it. So what's the deal with resolutions not working? Because look, we all know, I mean, we're just playing around, but we absolutely know that New Year's resolutions do not work unless you're some sort of incredible James Clear style character who can actually stick to his changing habits.
Yeah, but he does it by looking at the habits that happen on a daily basis. The problem with New Year's resolutions, in my experience, is it's something to do with New Year's. You know, it is, because it's called a New Year's resolution, it is something by the time we get into the new year already in the past.
Yeah.
So,
and look, it's a time where we make grandiose kind of proclamations of what we're going to do with our life for the next year. And it kind of marries up with that calendar tick, right?
Absolutely. It's all about the calendar ticking over into a new calendar. But the problem is that it has to tick over into our habits on a daily basis. Yeah. We have to keep reminding ourselves. And the New Year's resolution fades into a memory.
But I got to ask, do you make New Year's resolutions?
No.
Whoa, when did this stop?
Oh, years ago. Because they weren't working. And I wasn't very good at keeping them. And so it was easier to say, I don't make New Year's resolutions. The trouble is, it doesn't help with achieving things. So there are better ways of doing it.
So my question to you is, do you make New Year's resolutions and try to make them work? Because if you do, I'm pretty sure that you're going to fail just like the two of us.
And so a better way is to think about something that's going to enter your life on a daily basis.
Like a vision board?
Like a vision board.
Yeah.
Finally, you should say that.
So look, today we want to make a suggestion, and this isn't anything new, but it might be new for you, is that instead of making New Year's resolutions this year, think of making a vision board instead. And it doesn't have to have any hard and fast rules to it. I know we're going to talk about in just a minute that there is a process that you can use, but there are no rules to making a vision board.
No. We can make some suggestions, that's all.
When we got together and we had a chat about this today, you brought a piece of research, and that research was really about why vision boards work and New Year's resolutions don't. So could you share that with us?
Sure. It's because vision boards help us with just that, visualization. And most of us tend to be visual people. So anything that helps us visualize the future helps us manifest it in the present and our ability to actually achieve things. It's the reticular activating system that works.
Yeah, I love that. That reticular activating system is what I wanted to know about. And can you give us any more details on the reticular activating system?
Yes, it's a set of neurons at the base of our brainstem that helps filter out all the information that's coming to us sensorily in the world. So if we are using the reticular activating system with things like visual images, it helps us focus on what's important to us.
Yeah. That's great. So that's very much like along the lines of visualization, where we actually imagine something's real. And there's a lot of talk when you look online about manifestation, right? So we visualize it and we expect that that's what will come to pass in the future. So that gives a little bit of credibility to manifestation, doesn't it?
It's the link between the conscious and the subconscious.
So I have an interest in asking you, what do you think about manifestation? Because I've seen all sorts of stuff about manifestation that makes it look like voodoo to, oh, this is plausible.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong with manifestation unless people think it's some secret way of making things happen.
Yep.
It's not about making things happen. It's about focusing you on what you want to happen.
Yeah.
So if, for the sake of argument,
do you believe it's a thing?
Well, it's manifesting in the sense that it makes you focus on what you want to happen.
Yeah.
Not it makes things happen.
My question is do you believe it's a thing? Is it something you do?
No.
Why?
Because it does sound like a little bit of hocus pocus to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think there's some truth in it. Like I'm not a big, I think I'll go down this road and manifest everything. But I think there's some truth in it, because when we look at sports stars, they talk about visualization a lot, right? Seeing myself at the end of the line, seeing myself as a winner, as a success. And we were reading this morning that, I think it was in Oprah's blog, that, there's some credence to the fact that doing visualization is almost as good as physical exercise for athletes. I think that's fascinating. I think there's a little bit of truth in all these things.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's the idea that we can make things happen, not through some type of external mystic force, but by focusing ourselves on what's important and what's not to us. Don't think there's any question about that.
So in the case of vision boards, that begs the question, why do you think they work?
Because they focus our attention on what's important. And in this particular case, it's what our goals are. So if we're focused on our goals, we look for opportunities, we look for reinforcement, we look for validation.
Yeah.
And if a vision board helps us do that, helps us keep on track, fantastic. Doesn't mean there's some mystical force out there in the universe that's suddenly ignited by this.
Yeah.
It's about discipline in ourselves.
Yeah. And I've done vision boards in the past. I actually think they're very helpful. And I have one now, which is actually just words on a page, like big words, circles, all this kind of stuff. I haven't used images because that's just the way I have interacted with this one, but it helps me focus because I look at it every day and where I'm going with my business and even with business builders, what we're doing here. So I see exactly what you're saying. It does. It points you in the right direction and it helps unclutter those thoughts. So whether you think they work or not, they're a really good idea. I think there's a lot of evidence, as we've been talking about with our 1 hour of research this morning on this matter, that creating a vision board is way more helpful than creating a New Year's resolution. So how do we make a vision board?
Okay, well, to my way of thinking, it starts with understanding what are we trying to achieve. And that starts with, well, what time frame am I talking about?
Yep.
I think it's helpful probably to think about or spend some time thinking about what do I want to achieve by the end of this year.
Yep.
So have a time frame, number one.
Yep.
If you want to make it 5 years, if you want to make it 10 years, fantastic. But realize those things are going to take a lot longer.
That's true. I think that's very true. Most people would probably think, well, I usually think in 1 year blocks.
Yeah.
But I often find that when I've done a vision board that there's no way that I would get those things achieved in 1 year. So, because that tends to be the way I think. So I think you've got a fair point there.
So I think even if, for the sake of argument, let's suppose you're looking at building a career and it's not going to happen in 1 year. What do I want to achieve this year, by the end of this year, that will help me build the type of career I'm looking for? Let's suppose you want to be a CEO. Well, think about, by the end of this year, what can I have achieved that will help me on the path to that?
Yep. So generally when you make a vision board, and I agree with all those thoughts that you've got there, you start by creating the categories. And you can Google this pretty simply. There's so much stuff on creating vision boards.
Absolutely.
But you start by creating the categories. And we were talking about this morning, that you might have health, family, career, personal relationships, finance. And we would suggest probably 3 to 5 categories is all you need. With the business retreats you do, you have 3 categories, which are...
Well, 3 overall categories. Personal life, leadership life, because I'm dealing with leaders, and business.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in personal life, you can include things like personal finances, health, personal relationships, maybe recreation time.
Yep. Holidays, because I'd be putting photos of different places around the world that I want to be at.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of leadership, it's about personal development, support mechanisms sitting around you, governance.
Like photos of people that inspire you, businesses that inspire you, things, articles.
And in business, it's things like concrete achievements in terms of the business itself, profitability as an example. That's the type of thing we look at.
Back to the fact there's no rules, right? There's no rules for how you do this. It's an exercise in putting some things that inspire you together. And look, I know a business that I'm associated with that all their staff have vision boards. They do this as an actual whole workplace. They have vision boards on their desk, like little mini vision boards about what they see over the next year. And I think
fantastic idea.
I think that's a great idea. Like to do that at your workplace would be awesome.
And what about at home?
Well, of course.
Yeah. Why not do it with family?
So when's the last time you did a vision board?
About 8 years ago.
Why has it been such a long time?
Because I can't convince other people in my family to do it.
What about one personally for yourself?
In terms of vision boards, I just haven't invested the time. I write down my goals every year.
Oh, yeah.
And I find the process of doing that, I can visualize the end state, so that helps me. I don't find the vision board, for me, helps that much, but then I haven't tried it for a while.
Yeah, I did one about 6 months ago, and it was to do with business builders actually, where I just did, like I said, all these circles with words in it, and just some bigger circles and smaller circles, because that's the way my brain kind of works. Is I think in a technical kind of way, and I found it really helpful. And I just look at it sometimes just to remind myself, so that it soaks into me, and I can almost recite things now without thinking, because it's just day after day kind of just getting into my psyche.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's about building a habit of reminding yourself what's important and what you're trying to achieve.
So you mentioned family, right? And I think that's massive, because we're about to hit Christmas and New Year's. So vision boards is something we can do with more than one person.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you've got a group of people that you're trying to achieve common goals, then what better way than to have a common visualization of what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah. I think it really is something you can do with partners, something you can do with your kids, something you can do as a family. And that gives you something to do that really creates where are we going as a unit, or a couple, or as an individual this year. And that's way more useful to me than going, hey, this year I'm going to eat less chocolate.
Yeah. And a lot of times what people do is focus on the activity rather than focusing on the end point.
So just a couple of quick things before we move on. When you create a vision board, we get your categories, 3 to 5, but I would say 3 if possible. What you can then do, if you're not familiar with creating vision boards, I would just suggest that you spend 15 minutes on each of these categories and just think about that category, and just before you start finding images, just write down some thoughts or get some visual ideas and just describe them in your head for each of those categories. And then, write some dot points down. And then once you've done those dot points for each of those categories, if you've got 3 categories, it's going to take you 45 minutes. If you've got 5, an hour and a bit. Once you've got those categories, then you go looking for images. But how do we put them together in our modern world, Ron?
Well, it's a lot easier than it used to be. As we were talking about before, it used to be grabbing a whole bunch of magazines and cutting them out. I'm not saying don't do that.
I reckon actually do that if you've got a family. Because
it's kind of tactile and it's fun. And as long as you don't want to keep the magazines. Just be aware of that. Yeah.
And like I just did a quick Google of it with you this morning, and Canva have got a free tool to do it. You can do it on Pinterest. You can do it in Microsoft PowerPoint. You can do it in anything you're familiar with. There's some really good collaboration tools around. Like I would probably do it on something like Miro, which is a storyboarding bit of software. You can get a free account. By the way, no one's endorsing this program. We're getting no sponsorships. We're just telling you, I'm telling you how I'd do it. Miro's great. You can just throw everything on a board and you can get other people to join in. You can collaborate on that board, use your family TV, and everyone can throw stuff together. But the point is there's multiple ways to do it. I would do it online if it was just me.
Yep.
Me and my partner, yes. If I was doing it with my family, I'd rather cut up bits of paper and stick them on a big board because there's something about that.
Yeah, I'd use old magazines.
Because you can talk about it as you're doing it. Oh, that's an interesting photo.
Yeah.
Son number 1 or daughter number 2, whatever. Explain that. Talk to me about that. Well, I think this. So I think it's just a great, well, you do you, but
have a fun time doing it, however you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's plenty of ways that we can put these boards together, but then is that it? We just put a board together and
it's about shared understanding in all this as well. So a couple of words under each image doesn't hurt to motivate us towards that. You know, you might put time frames against some of the pictures. Yeah. You might put magnitudes against some of the pictures.
Magnitudes?
You know, how much weight you want to lose. How many times you want to...
I love magnitude being related to weight. How much magnitude do you want to lose?
Yeah. So it could be how many times we want to go on holiday this year. It might be how long the holiday is.
Yes.
So mechanisms that help you quantify.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
And look, there's people out there who make suggestions, and I've done this before as well, that for each of those sections, you can then start to make an actual plan of how it's all going to happen. But for me, I think that's overkill for a vision board. Some people make it their whole lives.
Don't forget, this is about inspiring, not about the activity that follows.
Well, the activity that follows for me is then you got to put that somewhere where you can see it all the time. Like mine's digital on my phone and on my computer. So with the board I was talking about earlier.
Why not print it out?
Well, I think that's a very good idea because you stick it up somewhere you can see it. But I'm on my phone that much that I just look at it every now and again, like probably once a day or once every other day.
I think that's the critical thing, that it is always, not always, but continually, repetitiously in front of you so that it becomes a habit to look at it.
I definitely think if you're a family or a couple, that printing it out or making it physical is really important because then you can both see it and you can both talk about it. And that's when it starts to sink in, as you said earlier.
And there's plenty of research that shows 90 days is a good time.
Yeah.
It's something that we relate to.
Yep.
So reviewing it every 90 days and saying, what are we going to do in the next 90 days that helps us achieve this is a good review mechanism.
And look, I know some people who stand in front of a vision board every day and then they recite things about their vision board and recite things about themselves and so forth. And that actually works. Hypnosis works. That's probably a bit left of center, but you basically program your brain when you look at things and you start speaking things out.
Yeah. And we won't go into the psychology of that, but there's plenty of psych research.
Well, I say that because I know some people who have undertaken personal hypnosis by playing tapes and looking at visuals and then talking to those visuals. So it's very much along those lines.
Well, it's again activating the reticular activation system.
So our suggestion is, and are you going to do one this year?
Oh, a vision board? Absolutely. I'm going to give it. Oh, yeah.
Can I hold you to this and see yours?
Yeah. We'll show it on the sometime in the new year.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely be doing one. We're going to be going on holiday and doing it together during that holiday
I'll make sure
period.
It looks good too. I might even laminate it. You know,
I'll show my personal one. So in the new year, we'll show ours. But we would suggest come on this journey with us instead of doing a resolution. Look, the maximum amount of time or the minimum amount of time you would spend getting something like this done is probably 2 to 3 hours. You'd be able to knock this off.
And when you think about focusing your efforts so that you achieve something that's important to you over a year, it's time well spent.
And if you've never done one before, make this something that's new for you. Embrace it. Just be open to seeing something different happen in your life. So this year, instead of resolutions, Ron,
visual boards.
And we've just started getting stuck into YouTube. So we've had a fair few people join us as subscribers, all of 20. It's great. We love it. We love you for joining us. We hope that you're enjoying this, but this is new for us. So this is all about new. And if you haven't done a vision board at New Year before, well, try something new.
The break between Christmas and New Year is a great time to start thinking about what do I want to achieve in the next year.
Yeah.
So spend some time, have some fun.
No worries. So until next year, everybody, keep on building. Did we just do that in stereo?
We did.
See ya.